You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Welcome back for another shift on the Geeks Watch.
You've been recording this whole time?
Yes.
I said my email password.
Well, you learn now, don't you? You learn. We are back.
If you guys want the pre-show and post-show, subscribe to our Patreon. You can find out my email password.
Send tips on Twitter.
There you go. Send tips on Twitter. With all this shenanigans, we're also going to be talking about Shadow and Bone episode 4 on Netflix. The name of this episode I cannot pronounce, so
Well, let me handle this one for you.
let me hear it.
This one is Otkazat'sya.
Yep.
Ooh.
John got it.
And I want to preface that by saying that this is a Russian word. It's a little bit of a kind of a mashup, but this is essentially the Ravkan language version of Muggle. It means orphaned, abandoned, or otherwise rejected.
So Alina and Mal.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we get into that, I'm Mitch. With me as always is John,
Hola.
Jessica,
That's me.
Stephen,
Hi.
and Elizabeth.
Hi.
We have to take care of our week's watch. So, Elizabeth, what did you watch this week?
So this week, I got through what's currently available of The Nevers on HBO. It's... I don't know how to explain it without explaining.
It's X-Men in the Victorian
It's
age, but
X-Men
all
in the
women.
Victorian age.
But not all women.
Ex-women.
Not all women.
But it focuses on all women.
It focuses primarily on women, but
Yay.
they've got a few. So the whole concept, they open up, and 3 years ago there was this flashing blue ethereal light, and
Is it what light?
I
ethereal.
wasn't going to say anything. That's so messed up, Steven.
We're going for ethereal. I like when people call me on this word. I'm not bullying.
Ethereal light. As anybody who listens to Love of Pages knows, I can't pronounce words, so nobody's surprised.
That's what you get for reading all the time. You make up the way that things are pronounced as opposed to watching movies and TV like me, and I just go along with everybody else's things.
Yeah, at least Steven corrected you, because I went through almost an entire VHS Gems podcast mispronouncing the main character's name wrong, and John knew and didn't correct me till like the end of the podcast.
Was that the Spago one?
No.
That one too. Actually, that happens.
too.
That happens quite a bit. I really just prefer not to say anything.
John, this is your instruction
that
to
wrong
say something.
The entire time. This is awkward. Say something, please. I say everything wrong because I learned phonics in Texas school system, so I say everything wrong if I read it.
Also, really going off on a tangent, in your VHS Gems episode about explorers, like Wolfgang Puck was right there. You guys didn't come up with that Wolfgang. Like you're Wolfgang Mozart and Wolfgang like other things, but you never said like the one person that's in modern times named Wolfgang.
You know, I honestly,
the
that's
son
only
of Van
because
Halen is in modern times.
But a little less known.
I don't keep up with my celebrity chefs, so it just kind of like fell through the wayside for me. But you are correct. I'll have to add a editor's note on that one for
All
file a
right.
retraction.
In any case,
The Nevers.
The Nevers. An ethereal light shone down across all of London, and it caused the turn. So certain people became the Touched, is what they are calling themselves, where they have different powers, and those powers could be anything. One young girl became 10 feet tall. Our main protagonist, Amelia True, played by Laura Donnelly, can see snippets into the future. And her main assistant, Penance Adair, who is played by Anne Skelly, can see electricity, which allows her to invent things.
Ooh, cool.
Right? So, of course, because like in our main show, Shadow and Bone, there are people with powers now, there is obvious conflict. So there is a segment of the population that is actively trying to capture and lobotomize the touched in an effort to, I'm not sure if it's to cure them or to harness the powers or what have you. And then the government is trying to determine if they should be considered a terroristic threat or an ally or a useful weapon. And the then underlying current is one of the touched is an escapee from a mental institution who's going on a murdering rampage, just generally. So you have Amelia True and Penance, who are the outward expression of everything good with the touched, and then you have I'm trying to it's not Myrtle, it's
Which
the
person?
name of the serial killer
Oh man,
character. What's her name?
I can't remember her name. The serial killer.
Yeah, this
Malady.
Is, Malady. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Malady.
Ah,
Malady. Malady is everything that's wrong with the touched, because I'm not really sure what her powers actually are, because we don't ever get a display so far.
She heals.
She self-heals.
Yeah, she regenerates, but it's kind of driving her crazy because she's still feeling the pain.
Yeah.
So
she goes on murdering rampages. And then there's some big twists about connections between the different characters. But in any case, Amelia and Penance run an orphanage an orphanage, safe house, because it depends if you're a child or an adult, for everybody who's touched. And then they're trying to basically convince the rest of London that the touched aren't a problem. They aren't, they're just normal people with special abilities. So you get that whole X-Men concept of the, And yeah, it all takes place in Victorian London, so you have all of the then gender norm issues, because the majority of the touched, at least of the touched that we have been introduced to so far, are female. There are a few men, but they make up a much smaller portion. So
I also wonder
far
how
it's
much of this. I've wondered throughout the whole series how much of it is also just seen as kind of men who do things. They maybe expect greater things from men. So there's things that are hidden as powers that are just like normal feats of strength or something like that. There's some societal shit in there.
yeah. So no, absolutely. And so you get all of those dynamics as well. So far it's been good. It's definitely, although they're not releasing it in bingeable style, I don't think.
I think a good chunk of it's already out.
Yeah, well, a good chunk of it is already out, so you can binge it, and I do recommend binging it, because I'm not sure I would enjoy watching it an episode at a time as much. I don't think any one of the episodes has enough of it for me to really make it worth it, but I've liked it so far.
One of the Lord Masson character, played by Pip Torrens, he was also in Preacher. If you watched the 3 seasons of Preacher that were on AMC, he played Air Star. So getting to see him play this character was also very. It's a very good role for him. He hates the touched and wants to have them, I don't know, killed or imprisoned or what. Your character, played by Olivia Williams, is in a wheelchair, so you get this very Professor Xavier vibe, because she's also the one that's paying for the school or the orphanage or the
Safe house.
But then it's kind of revealed that she's not so good. So
Yeah, she has access to the Chronicle Meteor.
Yeah. So it's going to be, I mean, we haven't finished it yet, so it's going to be interesting to see where all this lands.
Yeah.
But it's also executive produced by a person that we know is a garbage person now. So
Yeah.
leave that to if you really want to watch it or not.
I've just kind of accepted that everybody's garbage people. So
This is true.
Yeah, everybody.
Seems to be a lot of people, especially
You
in
heard
Hollywood.
about John Barrowman recently?
I mean, we've known about this
Yes.
from John Barrowman for a very long time. He talked about it at conventions. His other female co-stars talked about what he did at conventions. It's just now people are like, oh, wait, yeah, that is not a good thing for him to have been doing.
That's a problem apparently.
Yeah.
Imagine going back, like you go back to watch like an old Comic-Con panel and someone says something and you're like, what? Hold on. I just went back to this 2012 Comic-Con panel and
like
No,
that's
that's
just, that was okay.
yeah.
The way you said it just seemed to, something else is coming.
I was
Anyways,
like, well, and clicky clacky Twitter.
I like that, and
The Nevers is on HBO right now.
Yes.
It's an HBO series, but you can find it on HBO Max. Steven, what did you watch this week?
I finally got to watch a couple episodes of the new Netflix anime series Yasuke.
Yasuke. That's the one with Keith Lakeith Stanfield.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he voices the titular historical Yasuke, who is in very different circumstances than what he was in historically. There's mechs and robots and stuff alongside Nobunaga, and I didn't know that was a part of the series. But it also does make sense with it being a LaShawn Thomas led series, because that's kind of what LaShawn Thomas does. So I don't know what I was expecting in that one. But in this series, we were introduced to the idea of Yasuke, who is an actual, like a man from Africa who was sold into slavery that ended up in Japan. In actuality, this is a historically recognized thing. I think there's a photo of him out there. I could be wrong. Who ended up as an actual samurai. And we get a little bit of that story in the beginning, but then we're also, we see these giant robots and crazy sci-fi stuff. It's animated well, but I think I have the same kind of issue with it that I think a lot of people have had, where Yasuke is so stoic, but not in a way that's like, yes, motivations. It's more like, give me at least like a good pause sometime that carries some weight to it in how you deliver dialogue. It's very even keel to a point where I think it's not necessarily a fun watch seeing a great actor like Lakeith Stanfield deliver some of these lines. So, I don't know.
Was this originally made in English?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I thought I heard
Yeah,
somewhere
it's
that it
made
was
entirely for this.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Any
Yeah.
other voice actors in this that are prominent?
Oh, goodness. Honestly, with the one first episode, the only other person that I caught was Ming-Na.
Okay.
Ming-Na Wen is in there. She plays another character in there, who's also, I'm assuming, going to be a big deal. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Ming-Na. But I don't know. I don't know if I'll really continue it very much.
Okay.
Yeah, but I as much as I enjoy LaShawn Thomas's anime outings and everything, I didn't finish Cannon Busters either. So I don't know. I think there's just something in there that's perfect for 12-year-old Steven, and I'm not that Steven anymore.
That's fair. Is there another property that would be something that other people would know that would be similar to this that you can compare it to?
Not so much. I think a lot of people were expecting a little more energy from it. Something like how Samurai Champloo was. Unfortunately, I think that's a lot of it would be because of the hip hop influences that are in Samurai Champloo. But no, I don't think so necessarily. Cannon Busters, this other thing. Yeah, it's animated well. They do some cool stuff in there. There's good character designs. It's just, I don't know. It feels like very much a Toonami anime series, and I think we're past that with anime now. in a lot of ways.
Okay. Yasuke
Yeah.
is on Netflix right now. Jessica, what did you watch this week?
So quite recently, John and I watched the 1988 anime classic Akira for our other podcast, VHS Gems. And naturally, we go on a tangent and we talk about the animes we watched when we were children. And John talked about how he absolutely liked this anime, well, the Spanish dub of the anime, Saint Seiya. And wouldn't you know it, Saint Seiya is on Netflix, not the Spanish version, unfortunately, John. But I watched.
It used to be. They used to have the Spanish option available early on.
Maybe
and
I'll
then
check. But
I don't think it is
because-
anymore.
no.
It's because of the visual parts. The one that made it into English doesn't have all of the stuff that the Spanish one did. The Spanish one had no bones about putting the violent stuff in there.
Oh yeah, no, it was uncensored. In the English version, they even took away the blood and they colored it to look like blue or something.
Yeah.
So they used to call it, they bleed Gatorade.
But yeah, I am watching the English. Well, I watched the first 2 episodes of the English version of Saint Seiya, which is like the only way I could describe it is it's basically a magic girl anime but for boys.
Okay.
In which like they have that scene where they put on their like armor and it's like a magical sort of thing, and then it gives them strong powers.
It's like Boy Sailor Moon, basically.
Yeah, that's magic girl. Sailor Moon's magic girl. So this is boy, and they fight by punching and hitting really awesomely using the main character literally uses the power of the Pegasi to fight. It's really cute. I'm only 2 episodes in. It's interesting. It kind of ties in Greek mythology with Zodiac mythology. The main girl character is Athena, from what I understand, like a reincarnation of Athena, and she's got really awesome pink purple hair. And
Yeah.
that's how you know she's the main girl character. And Saint Seiya, like the first 2 episodes is about him getting his Pegasus powers and trying to control them, and it's interesting. It's fun. It's definitely like a 90s 80s anime. The drawing's pretty cool. The transitions are kind of crazy, I guess, but the main theme song is pretty poppin'. Like it's a good theme song.
And I recommend you Google, because I mentioned this in that podcast as well. The Spanish theme song, which is how I was introduced to the series, completely different. It's like a whole different show. It changes the tone entirely. The Japanese original version is very kind of like rock. Like it sounds like an 80s rock song.
Oh yeah, that's what it sounds like.
No, the Spanish version, which not only is sung in like Castilian Spanish, so it has that little lisp to it. It's also very like, it's like an upbeat ballad. It's very like anthemy, very like trumpety. It's hard to describe. It's completely just you think you're watching 2 completely different shows just based on the theme song change.
I'll have to find that. It's definitely a fun old anime. I am excited to see where it goes next, because right now it just seems like it's constant gladiator coliseum fighting
That's anime.
over and over again.
It's gonna be that. That's never gonna change. So like, you're either on board at this point, or it'd be like, nope, you're just gonna watch like 7 seasons of them just constantly fighting.
I know. We'll see. I'll watch a few more episodes to determine. Maybe it'll be my next. I'll take a break from the Marvel rewatches on, well, like the Marvel cartoons on Disney Plus, and then
Just
get to Saint Seiya.
Don't bother watching the Netflix remake though. That's done with
could you?
CGI.
It's fine.
Is it fine?
No,
I
it's
saw
bad.
images of
It's
it,
not
and it
great.
looked horrible.
Well,
so.
it's overly simplified, and one of the like I normally don't have a problem with changes sometimes, but one of the main characters, because there's 5, it's basically like Sailor Moon because there's 5 main characters. One of the main characters is kind of androgynous. It's not overt, but it's kind of like, is he, isn't he, is he even a he? It's kind of like that. No, they just flat out say like, oh no, this character is a girl, like 100%. in the American remake. Like they're not even bothering with any of the like who is this person exactly or what are they. It's like nope, it's a girl. Don't worry about all that other weird innuendo or
remake?
yeah.
Well, was that a thing
interesting.
in the original dub of it also? Whether they were androgynous? Because there's some kooky stories about different adaptations. Yu Yu Hakusho, and I think
Sailor Moon had one too.
It's not like Filipino or something. They just called Kurama a girl.
Yeah. Well,
They were like, it's Cammy.
yeah. Was Sailor Moon's was when it was English dubbed was the two, what was it, Neptune and I can't remember.
It was like
Two-
Uranus.
That they were cousins
the
or something
two
like that.
gay characters, which were clearly gay characters, were cousins in the U.S. version.
That's why they were
just
always
really
hanging out
close
together in their
cousins.
underwear at their house. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I know. They're cousins like that. So yeah.
Well, and that's the thing though. Like, it was never really overly like it was never part of any important plot. It was just this character's kind of ambiguous, but clearly male. And for some reason, they just decided, you know what, we're not going to bother with that ambiguity. We're just going to make this character female, and it has a sibling it's like, oh, that's my sister. It was like, okay, that wasn't a problem. Maybe it's because the zodiac sign that he portrays in the original anime is Andromeda, which is a female, and I guess that ties into androgyny because the armor has boobs on it, but it's a guy. So I maybe they're just like, why? I don't know.
Yeah, they might not have been willing to play with that one, but I think that one's cool. I forget there was something where a person got this power, but the power was originally from like a female character, and so whenever they were like Shazam or whatever their thing was, it was like women's suit of armor, and everyone's like, no, yeah, they got awesome armor, dude. Like it doesn't matter. Go for it.
So I have a question as a person who doesn't watch a lot of anime. Why is, and I assume it's just a word that's translates into something else, but what does Seiya mean or Saiyan? And since that stuff shows up in a lot of the different animes, that word.
In this one, it's the main character's name.
That one's a boy name. I think you're putting it with Sentai?
Yeah.
Or with Saiyan, like in
Or
Dragon Ball.
Saiyan.
Yeah, Saiyan in Dragon Ball. Is that
That's just the name of their alien race.
So are those two words not spelled the same? The guy's
and
name.
A before the I.
Okay. Well, see. Guess that's my fault for not reading enough.
I mean, Seiya translates to pure or father, according to Google.
Okay. There you go. That is also available on Netflix, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Saint Seiya. Okay, John, what did you watch this week?
All right, so this was a very short week for me. So I really only got to squeeze in the latest episode of The Bad Batch, episode 3.
Been able to watch
So
it yet.
it's there's not a whole lot to say for it other than it seems to be pretty good. It's doing a really cool job of world building and kind of filling in the blanks now for what happened as soon as the Empire took over. Which was immediate. Like, you went from having clone troops and generals, which the generals were previously the Jedi, to like you have the conscripted officers now, like General Tarkin. I think he's not a Grand Moff yet. I don't believe. And they're talking more about like, okay, like we need to see if there's still any value in the clone program, or we're going to scrap it in favor of like enlisting, because they feel like it's more powerful to have people who are loyal to your cause rather than just artificial beings that were created just to fight for you for some reason. I'm like, I think you have that backwards, my dude, but okay, plot needs to happen.
If you have civilians who are out there making new people, that's basically free advertising for your cause.
I guess so. Tell them about your benefits that you get for being in the
GI Bill.
Empire. Yeah. Dental and 401k. So, yeah, basically it's just a continuation of that. There's the little girl clone character named Omega that has a little bit more to do in this episode. There's, it's kind of a filler episode, but it does show you that the Kaminoans, which are the clone makers, are basically saying like we need to come up with something that's going to ensure our place in this, new empire. Otherwise, we're going to become obsolete because like our previous contract with the Republic was like how we were paying the bills, basically. So they're cooking up something, and Omega may have something to do with it. We still don't know anything about her as far as why she's special. They mentioned that the clone, the Jango Fett DNA material is degrading because they no longer have a fresh source.
Is that why the Bad Batch?
Well, this Bad Batch in particular had very specific deteriorations, but also gave them augmented skills or areas. So that's why you have they're all still basically Jango Fett clones, but their genetics are now mutating so much so that they have distinct voices and personalities and appearances. So like that's why you have the main guy that looks like Sylvester Stallone, which I like to call Sylvester Stallone. And he's basically like Rambo. Like he's got the red bandana, he's got like war paint on, and he's really good at tracking things. I think he carries like a big Bowie knife as well. You have the Wrecker character who's like a big strong guy, and he's like is definitely the least intelligent of the group. He's more like he wants to go and smash, or he reminds me of the character Crush from Incredibles 2. It's like, me want crush. And it's like, have you ever tried uncrushing? And he was like, why would you uncrush? Like that's kind of his character. You have the smart guy. And again, D. Bradley Baker voices all of these guys and does an amazing job of making them all feel distinct and with different personalities. It's amazing. I like how his credit comes up. D. Bradley Baker, the Bad Batch. Like he just does them all.
Yes.
Plus every other clone as well, obviously. So that's pretty cool. And so, yeah, there's one clone that did follow through with Order 66. And everybody's kind of like, why did he get affected and we weren't? And they talk about how, like, well, because we're the Bad Batch, our chips didn't have the programming or whatever. And one of them, for some reason, did. I think it might come out to play that, his chip probably didn't work either. He just really likes to follow orders and and kill, because he's a sharpshooter, so he's all like one shot one kill, oorah. And I think that's just going to follow through in this particular episode. Especially, it shows just how brutal he really is, because they put him in charge of his own little squad now, because he's still working for the Empire. All the other ones are kind of outcast, just trying to like escape. I'm looking forward to see if we have some other cameos. In the first episode we had Kanan, kind of like we see like his origin basically from the Bad Batch's point of view. And there was a reference to Rex in episode 2. In this one, we don't really get any overt references to anything, but it does have a little bit more of that world building. Like, okay, like this is the first stages of it becoming the Empire now. Logos are starting to change, armor's starting to look a little bit different. And we're definitely seeing that transition. So I like it. I didn't think I was going to like it. I think I said this before. But I was like, I didn't care about the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars. So I was like, whatever. But now I'm like, okay, I'm actually kind of interested because of the world that they're being thrown into is the way it's developing. I find it interesting. And that kind of endeared me a little bit more to them.
Okay.
The one sniper guy who's taken the whole like orders thing a little too far. Is his new modified logo just like the Punisher logo or something? Or...
No, but he's definitely got an upgrade. He's wearing like all black now.
Oh.
A lot of sarcasm.
He does have a crosshair like over his eye.
Oh God.
Yeah, he had that though.
So, anything that is more interested into the Star Wars like legacy other than that's going on in the series that would tie back into the rest of the Skywalker saga?
Nothing specific yet. This is definitely staying away from all of that. But I mean, this is only the 3rd episode in, I don't know how many this is going to be, 16, I think I heard.
Did you watch Lower Decks yet for Star Trek?
No.
Okay, never mind then. I was gonna ask if you felt this was kind of like their journey off into the side of things, how that kind of is.
Oh, okay. Well, you're definitely seeing the bigger pictures kind of happening around them. But this is kind of exactly where I wanted it to be for a long time because we didn't know what the transition was. I mean, this is like an 18-year period between the end of episode 3 and 4 at the start of 4, and then we get a little glimpse of it in Solo and in Rogue One. Rogue One literally right before episode 4 begins. So like they do a really interesting job of showing you why things like smuggling become such a prominent profession. Because the Empire basically makes it impossible to try to just live a free life. Like they want everybody to have essentially like social security numbers and everything be tracked. They want everybody to turn in their previous currency and only use Imperial credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like your old money is no longer good. That's why a lot of bartering takes place moving forward from there. That's why people resort to hiding in cargo ships and stuff, because the Empire just wants to have a big stranglehold and control over everything. And I like seeing how that began, that they're definitely showing you that here.
Okay. It's a strong libertarian message to the Bad Batch, you're saying.
Yes, definitely. These are sovereign citizens that are just trying to make their way in the world. And the Empire, or should I say, like
Big government.
big Empire is just not making it easy for people to just make their way in the universe.
Now, I know earlier on, I think you said that, but I think you said that your Stallone clone is your favorite.
No, I would say my favorite is, what's his name? Tech? He's like the smart guy. Yeah, he's got like these huge like Coke bottle goggle glasses type things, and he's always like the most logical, like clear-headed of all of them, figures things out.
Deep for the archetypes in this one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if I still wore glasses, they would look like that.
And
Thank
so
you,
do you have a least favorite or one that you don't care for?
Probably the clone.
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly.
So the one that
I just feel like, well, why the headband and the war paint, like that's so
why
unnecessary.
Rambo?
You wear it
Because he legit is Rambo. I'm pretty sure the animators came out and said, yes, we wanted him to be Rambo, and we made him Rambo.
But you wear a helmet like 90% of the time. Why would you need to wear makeup under it? It's like, it's not necessary.
So that
you do whatever you want to do to feel your true self, whether or not you're covered up.
Fair.
The kids have something to dress up as for cosplay, so that that they could differentiate.
It's to sell toys.
Yeah.
Actually, and to Steven's earlier question, if anybody has the Skull or Punisher look to him, it's the clone. Like that face paint that he wears is basically like a half skull.
Does he do like the three fingers thing down over his mouth to put the paint on?
No.
No, but he did light a wound on fire when he got like shot through the torso. He like lit it through the back and then like shot out through the front
to take care of it.
Is it a blaster bolt already like cauterized?
Yeah, that was the thing I was thinking.
That's how hardcore he is. He just wants to really make sure it's like burned up.
Good and cauterized.
Actually, on that note, in this latest episode, you see some pretty brutal like execution style like murders from the evil, like the Imperial troopers now. Like you see somebody straight up get shot in the chest, and I was like, whoa! Like usually they kind of keep that off camera, or it's not like blatant. But yeah, here like somebody's trying to like save people. Like this is like a good or innocent character trying to like take off, and he gets shot through the windshield of the ship he's trying to pilot straight into the sternum. I'm like, whoa! This is not your children's Star Wars anymore.
All right. The Bad Batch is available right now on Disney Plus, and it is ongoing until they get to episode 16. Is that what you said?
I think I heard it was going to be 16 episodes. I could be wrong though.
On my week's watch, I watched a Netflix original called Stowaway. It is Anna Kendrick, Daniel Day Kim, Toni Collette, and another actor that is not as well known, but Shamir Anderson.
He's the stowaway.
He is the stowaway. But that is it. There are 4 actors in this whole movie, and that's it. It all takes place on a spaceship, rocket ship, space shuttle.
We don't even hear the voice of the other person. They're like Houston, you know?
Yeah, they're mission control. They don't never actually we don't hear them, but essentially the movie starts with the rocket blasting off from Earth, and they get into their mission about a day, maybe in half a day, and they notice that some equipment isn't working right. The commander, played by Toni Collette, goes to check it out, and as she opens the panel, this person falls out, and
no, he hangs there for a second where she could have successfully pushed him up a little bit, and then he falls and gets real hurt.
And he gets real hurt, and she gets real hurt. She breaks her arm.
Yeah.
So you come to find out that he was an engineer that was doing some last minute tinkering or whatever it is, and he knocked himself out and was on the spaceship when it took off. Well, as they're on their mission to Mars, there's only enough oxygen for the 3 people that are supposed to be on the ship. A 4th person.
They had stretched a ship that was meant for 2 to house 3.
I must have missed
Now
that
it's
part.
got 4.
And then
Now it's
it
got
was
4.
pushed even farther.
So we get the whole, I guess we gotta kill somebody.
Someone has to die. Daniel Day Kim is a botanist. At least that's his main focus, and his whole experiment is to get to Mars and see if they can start growing plants so that they can breathe there. Well, he has
Potatoes.
Almost exclusively algae. It's weird.
Yeah. He has
Algae
to.
produces a lot of oxygen. More
Yeah,
than,
it's a high oxygen content.
Yeah.
He has to update that or expedite it while on the ship to see if they can create more. And well, it pretty much eats up all of his experiment and thus screws them even more. And from that point on, they have to try and figure out what it is that they're going to do next, because all 4 of them are not going to make it to the planet. Or it's either one of them needs to go or all of them are going to go.
That one thing that you started with Daniel Day Kim's character, is a good character and everything, that's my problem with the entire movie. I like the movie. It's a good movie. I like astronauts, any space thing. I'm down. Once his thing was done, they used up all of his algae and everything. He's the one who dies then. He's the one who goes away.
But he's also trained in other things. This engineer
the other guy put the ship together.
Barely. He to the point that he shocked himself and passed out. Like
yeah. Listen, he messed up on something. Daniel Day Kim fucked up, and now his whole project is done. They both fucked up, but one has a continued use.
I mean,
What do the other
you don't
two
know
people
what.
do?
Steven's
They
right.
still got their jobs. One's a captain, and the other one, she's a doctor.
She's the doctor, but they all are
Also a
cross-trained in a
problem.
lot of other things too, though. Like,
Absolutely.
The engineer is not cross-trained to spacewalk. He can't go on the outside of the ship and
He's
fix
one of
anything.
he's one of 3 people that we saw do a spacewalk in this movie.
You'd want to keep an engineer, because engineers can fix things in ways that are a bit more creative and correct way.
But all
What else
3
does
of the
the captain
people.
do? Because I feel like that's the one I would take out.
Makes the hard decisions. But this is a further thing. When Mitch gets to the end of this movie and his talking about it, we'll return to this issue.
Oh, I wasn't gonna spoil anything, but if you want to just get to the end of it, sure.
No, we shouldn't. You're right.
I enjoyed it. It does have like the reverse effect of The Martian. It definitely does not have the packaged happy ending that The Martian does if you watch that. So keep that in mind. I don't necessarily agree with how the movie ends or Steven's assessment of who should not make it. But that's just me. So I would
just
say give it a
seems-
watch. What was that?
This seems like an intentional experiment from somebody else. Like they intentionally ensured that 4th person would be there. Because I feel like only having algae to produce oxygen to see if you could grow stuff on Mars, and only having this, like you've already set them up for failure. Like, I feel
Also,
like somebody
only
intentionally
having
was like,
exact enough oxygen for 3 people.
Yeah, like
for the
barely
exact
having
time. Like,
yeah, like I don't know if I just don't have like I haven't seen this, so I don't have the background of why there were 3 people on the ship when there only should be 2. But I feel like somebody was like intentionally like, let's send these at least 3 humans we don't care about up to space and observe them the whole time and see what will actually happen if you send 3 random humans
I feel like it's a
nothing
very expensive
to
experiment.
Mars. Well, I mean,
They are sent by a company though, and
It
I
is
mean
a
we have
company.
people.
yes.
It's like
Some
SpaceX.
mastermind.
Yeah, and
It's just-
and we got a straight tweet from Elon Musk about with this Mars stuff, people are gonna die the first wave.
Yeah, yes, that is exactly what will happen, and that's actually probably the intention of it is to see how we will fail, so we don't do it again.
that's why you always
Kind
want
of
to be
thing.
the
That's what it
second
feels like.
person to complete something.
Yes,
Yeah.
always.
Anyways, I enjoyed the movie. It is a very slow burn, so go into it expecting that. It's not high paced, it's not action packed, but it does bring up certain topics of, what means usefulness, what is an acceptable death, what is how should you go in this certain thing. Like Anna Kendrick brings up a point like, well, what do? We just walk him out the airwalk at this point, or airlock at this point? Like it's very funny. But
Did you watch by any chance the George Clooney
yes, Great
Spacey
Gravity.
movie? No. Actually, no. That's true.
Solaris?
The more recent one.
Solaris.
Oh yeah, remember we talked about that one, the one where he's the guy on the ground and the Earth is
Yeah.
being consumed, and there's people in the ship that are coming back, but they shouldn't come back. I can't
Netflix
remember
is doing
the
a
name
whole
of that
thing
one. Midnight
with-
Sky or something like that. Or?
Yeah, that was the one.
Okay.
I liked this one more than Midnight Sky, and I'm waiting to see the other one that they more recently announced. That sounds like a very similar pitch to this current film we're talking about. Netflix is doing a lot of people in spacesuits kind of movies right now, and I really like it.
I mean, they
Up
had
until-
that whole series with the next Karate Kid. What was her name? What's her name? Steve.
Yeah,
John
yeah,
Hilary Swank.
Hillary
Thank you.
Swank. There you go.
but yeah, and I didn't enjoy that one very much.
I didn't
feel
watch
bad
it.
about
I didn't watch it.
Nobody else did. That's why they canceled it.
Oh,
But people are watching For All Mankind. I mean, I know that's that's on Apple TV, not on Netflix, but Space.
The Right Stuff also got canceled, right?
The Right Stuff did get canceled at Nat Geo Disney Plus. So
yeah.
I'm just
or
curious
miss.
to see how it goes. It was a while since we had gotten any astronaut themed things up until the Christopher Nolan film with Matthew McConaughey and
Interstellar?
Gravity. Yeah. It had been a little bit. So I'm glad we're back there now.
All right. Stowaway is available on Netflix right now. Let's get into talking about Shadow and Bone, episode 4, titled.
Otkazat'sya.
There you go. I'm never going to learn that.
I want to say, I don't hate everyone's pronunciations of things. I laughed too hard earlier and I feel bad.
As you should.
Do not feel bad, Stephen.
I feel
Always
bad.
correct someone if they're saying something wrong.
Hey,
John.
I'm the kind of guy, if you have a booger hanging out your nose, it's better to just let it hang than be the one that points it out to you.
No, be the one. I think we've established we're at this relationship within this group. Please tell us if we're embarrassing.
All the comments on the podcast know. People were like, okay, guys, you're embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
So,
Hey, Shadow and Bone.
in this episode, what'd you find interesting? Yeah. All right.
No, they
a lot of
they
things
did a
just
better
made
job.
me mad.
Yes, I was so mad during this episode.
Let's
Mal
hear it,
and
ladies.
His friend. Why does friends have to die like that? They were great comic relief, and the comic relief is just slowly getting killed off.
I want to know, what did you guys think that the envelope was supposed to smell like? Because I assumed her perfume or something.
Her perfume.
Yes,
yeah.
it was definitely supposed to smell like her perfume.
Nope, it smells like food, like that guy said.
It smells
Yeah,
like lamb.
smells
beef
like
stroganoff
roast.
or whatever the fuck he said.
That sounds better.
Yeah, because that's what you want to be while you're starving on the front lines is hungry.
I mean, I imagine
Yeah.
when you're starving on the front lines, everything smells
Like-
and looks like food. So
Yeah. So, I mean, I already didn't like General Kerrigan, like, before this episode. But then when he invites her out riding and wants her to dress in black like him, I was like, and his explanation, I think, is what pissed me off, was well, why do you want to be like everybody else? Well, why should she want to be like you? Like,
Yeah.
if you want her to be unique and different, give her a yellow one. Like,
Yeah.
she's not the darkness. That's your gig, dude.
I
Like,
know. It would
She's
be
the light in the
white
darkness,
with
though.
gold embroidery.
there you go. That's fine. Although white is a terrible color to try and keep clean. But
This is fair.
and the
Yeah, that
tailor's
is
in
fair.
white, I think.
You get like a nice tri-blend, you know? Like a jersey knit.
I think the tailor's in white. So like put her in yellow. Like something that's not black. I don't know. It irritates me. The entire time it irritates me. And then throughout this episode, it just kind of keeps getting worse because then it becomes very clear. Not only is he preventing their letters from going to each other, which, duh, to be expected,
Yeah.
but he's then clearly reading them to find out what she's worried about and what makes her love Mal so that he can manipulate her into falling in love with him. And
Yeah.
that level of abuse just really irritates me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I originally thought when she was writing these letters, I thought she was just journaling. Like I didn't think that they were supposed to be letters because why would you even expect the letters to get anywhere? So I just did not even put two and two together.
I've always wondered this kind of thing for a military force at this point in civilization in general. Like, yeah, go ahead and get this letter to this guy. And then they have to spend the next 18 months figuring out where that guy is. Like,
Yeah, because he's not even on the front. Like he's off adventuring somewhere else.
Yeah.
But crows, right? We know from Game of Thrones, you just give it to a crow, and a crow will take it to wherever you need. Or was it a raven?
Ravens, yeah.
Raven,
Ravens.
sorry.
But yeah.
Teleporting ravens.
Although in this episode, the crows get to do their heist. That was
Almost.
probably no. They get to do their heist. They get
They did this one.
They
Yeah.
heist the blueprints.
The
Yeah,
blueprints,
the
that's
blueprints
right.
in this one. Yeah.
They heist the blueprints, and then Inej has to become a stage performer, which
So,
I feel really bad for her.
I
about.
kind of felt
Hey, she did an amazing job though.
Oh, she did a phenomenal job, but like her character to me feels like somebody who does not want to be in the spotlight, and they're like, "We need a star performer," and it's like, oh,
so I
Fine.
know that's probably not what it's supposed to be, and I'm probably digging too much into it or nitpicking too much into it, but it seemed a little too racial stereotypy, like the Middle Eastern lady would know how to do that ribbon dance just without any training, or she had been trained before, but we just assume
think
that she
she's-
has it. Like,
She's supposed to be physically adept, I think.
She's,
That's the thing.
yeah, that's what
I-
it is. She's
I
trained to
think-
be a pretty assassin.
I thought the conductor had recognized it because of the way she was able to attack him and not be heard.
I don't. You guys are all correct. Yes, there's definitely reasons that she should be able to do this. It just,
I agree, though.
to
It
me,
is a stereotype, yes.
it came
It-
off
it-
a little too gross to me. I don't know.
It would not happen if she was a male assassin. Kind
This
of
is
thing.
true.
Yes,
Yes.
I see. It's because she's female that it works, and she can do silks. Like,
Yeah.
no problem.
So
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
then Jesper shoots a card in half in her mouth.
I know. If I was her, like, I understand that Jesper's really good at what he
Yeah,
does.
I would not agree to that.
No. Like, because she's also spinning, and her arm is definitely in like the card is not held in her way. That, and I don't know. Everything about that was just like, this shouldn't work.
And he's not looking at her.
He's looking in a reflection.
And not even a mirror reflection,
So the-
like a legit.
It's a tray.
If we're following,
Reflective tray.
if we're following the D&D thing from the last episode,
He rolled a nat 20.
So when he rolled a nat 20 when he said, like, I look at the goat, I look up at the monsters that are beating their way through the train car thing, I feel love for this goat, and I'm going to protect this goat. And he got up and he rolled a nat 20 shooting the monster things, and then the DM was like, you know what? I'm going to give you inspiration for that. You can use that next session. So he used that inspiration to actually be able to re-roll his roll with the card. No matter what, he had advantage.
No. This episode had some disappointing things for me where I'm like, oh, so Mel does love her, apparently. With that whole, like, okay.
Is that the disappointing thing, or are you going to say another thing?
It's well, and then you have the scene that caused me to roll my eyes so much I got, like, lightheaded, where the Grisha, what's her name?
Which Grisha? You kind of cut out.
The Sun Summoner.
Alina?
Alina, yeah, I'm not even keeping track of her name. That's how little I care about her story.
Miss Alina Starkov.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Alina directly translates to sun in some languages because I'm pretty sure I've used the name before in one of my novels because it translated to sun.
That sounds like something I can look up here really easily in a moment. But
it sounds like really lazy writing to be the Sun Summoner.
Have you not been watching the last two episodes?
Okay, about this one, I got to read an interview with the writer. This was their first book, guys. There's a reason it changed so much from 2012 when it came out to now when they're making this TV series. They're retroactively changing a lot of things. Their first outing was.
Yeah. It is bright, by the way, not
bright.
sun. It's bright.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does this author have other books? Like other things that are not Shadow and Bone?
Oh, yeah. She has a lot of other books.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. She's a fairly well-known author within YA, and I think she does do an adult series as well. Or two.
But so John can't stand Elena's storyline. But what were you going to say about it?
Specifically, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that thought this when this moment came up. The scene where she goes to see General Kyrian.
Yes.
And like they do the whole like he starts getting like the darkness starts overwhelming everything, and she brings the light to like cleanse it. And I was like, okay, the only thing we needed was for his eyes to turn black too. Like, I'm surprised that didn't happen while he's crying.
It was a Howl moment from Howl's Moving Castle.
But
and he gets sad and goopy.
When she starts to leave, and she pauses outside the door, and he walks up, and there's the line between them, and he's like longing for her, and she's like, no, and she walks away, and I'm like,
let it go.
like. I didn't think I'd have that kind of a reaction to this, but I was like, oh, really? Like, whatever. And then, I'm going to jump ahead to the very last thing here, but it's like, okay, so we get it. She's over Mel. She's removing the thing that binded them together, or they had the connection. It was like, get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. Yeah, I'm like, it's so lazy.
I have to say, I like the Taylor, though.
It's very on the nose writing,
Yeah, the Taylor's cool, but no, I get pissed off at the concept that like somebody who grew up in an orphanage and continually talked about in episode 3 about the fact that being in the little palace was like being in the orphanage and you have to always have your guard up, would just throw away the only friend she's ever really had because a couple of mean girls say that he doesn't love her. Like, when clearly, and they've already stated, like, the mean girls have, like, because it's the angry lady. I don't know what actually. Who smacks her the entire time.
Madam Hooch.
Madam Hooch, who's like,
Bagra?
What?
Bagra?
The Bagra, yes.
Bagra.
Yeah, the Bagra.
Yeah, the Bagra. Who's the one who's like, well, no, my whole job is to break you down to like get you to use your powers. So like she's clearly already told you that her goal is to manipulate you. Yeah. And so when she manipulates you, you fall for it? Like,
that's why you're like, what? They told me they were going to manipulate me, so they can't be manipulating me.
It's a reverse psychology.
It just, that whole thing. I'm like, there's no way growing up the way that she grew up that she'd be that trusting is my problem. Smart, dumb, worldly, whatever. She would not be that trusting. She wouldn't trust any of them at all.
No, she wouldn't be falling for half of this crap.
Well, maybe the training's working. Maybe the breaking her down to her lesser parts are being successful.
They do have a practice history with this kind of thing. They're all more practiced
But
than she is.
normally that breakdown usually occurs by like creating a bond between several people who are being broken down at once, so they feel camaraderie. She doesn't have any camaraderie, so they're missing a very big piece of what makes that breakdown work.
Yeah. There's parts of her getting broken down in this that I have not liked. In, I think it was the last episode, the scene where the guy stands up and is like, this many people died.
It's all your
You should
fault.
be training harder.
And you're eating figs right now, Sun Summoner, and be like, okay, what are you doing about it, sir? Like,
Yeah. Like, bro, I think you're fire. Fire makes dark go away. Why are you trying hard? Like, and she just immediately is like, I'm so sorry. And why?
Because that's how you write a female lead character.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but like to me, they needed to give her. They needed to give her peers that like her for the breakdown to work.
Well, I think that there's also like they set it up like you're saying, like she needed to be on the same plane as someone else, but in every single way she's getting put above everyone else and just being othered in a way that I think would make you turn inwards and be more do more
Yes.
self-preservation.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. Is this portion of the book longer than it is in the TV show? Is that what's happening here?
Probably. This is where they cut. But I did appreciate. I mean, I feel like with the revelations in this episode that Mal can hear her every time she uses her powers, or when they used to touch hands. The fact that he can hear her, and the fact that he can track the white stag. I'm like, oh, good. So he probably does have powers.
Well, he saw the stag, which is the thing that only people with Grecias can do, according to what they said earlier.
Oh, the lore.
The lore, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we did see he didn't get tested because his hand was hurty.
Well, see, that's another thing I want to get at is that like the whole you can't get tested if you're already injured because it's unexpected pain, and it's just like
Yes.
he's
Like, you
always
never-
in pain.
Yeah, you never once in your life feel unexpected pain either, Alina. Like, you're a girl. You have felt unexpected pain.
At 11, maybe not. At 11, maybe
Well,
not.
yeah, but at least, I mean, she's what, 19 now? So at least at 16.
But by the age of like 8, I had like aggressively like hurt my eyebrow by falling, knocked out both of my front teeth. Like there would be a time where if I had an ability, I tripped and hurt myself, I would have like sprung to life with light.
I know.
So I mean, he obviously. Do you think he came back to life because the stag was around and it thus amplified his power, whatever it is?
Probably.
Or is he an amplifier because he was touching Alina when her Sun Summoner, came up the first time and got rid of all
the opposite.
He's going to be one of those bone guys. That's what
That's what I'm saying.
He's a bonesmith?
Yeah,
He's a
that'd be
bonesmith.
cool.
I think he might
$10.
I think something akin to that, but I think it's something where his ability tamps down somebody else's ability in one way, but then can also lift someone's ability up. I think it's like a two-edged thing.
So since he was always around Alina's power had been suppressed until it needed to come out, and then he amplified it?
Possibly. I think there's just I think there's two sides to this one. I don't know if that's true or not. I just think with the way that we're being given the world also, they're directing it real hard in one direction, and we're supposed to like not be looking at him for the opposite thing.
So it sounds like there's going to be a real like rock, paper, scissors about how all of this works.
Definitely.
So, do you think that he is a descendant of the Bonesmith, just like our Kerrigan is a descendant of the Dark Heretic?
That's what I think.
I don't think they'd be bringing that connection up if it didn't play later in some way.
So, because those two characters are two completely different things, right? The Dark Heretic and the Bonesmith. Now,
okay,
yes.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. I mean, the way
I think
we've gotten
all
both
the stuff
stories,
from I think all the stuff from the past is connected in one person in some way, shape, or form.
Well, so the Bonesmith was supposed to be
The first Grisha, yeah.
or one
Well,
of the
they say
first.
one of the first, yeah.
One of the first.
Yeah.
And he realized that in his power, if the other Grisha consumed the creatures that he created from his bonesmithing, that could amplify their powers. Then later on, the Black Heretic became one of the king's advisors, and then got greedy with power. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Kerrigan is now one of the king's advisors and is clearly greedy for power. Like,
Yeah.
I think,
Oh, is this foreshadowing?
yeah.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I think the Dark Heretic is related to the Bonesmith, and then the Dark Heretic is related to Cheekbones.
Okay.
Well, we do know already that Dark Heretic is the ancestor of Kerrigan.
but now we're going to say Kerrigan and Mal are related. Very distantly, but they are related. If what
I
Steven
think
says
everybody's related really
Yeah.
distantly if they're Grisha.
we go back far
That's fair.
enough.
That's
Yeah.
fair. Also, like just the idea that the two like kind of lead character people are also orphans. Oh, I wonder who they're related to. Maybe they're Skywalkers.
I'm sure they're all Skywalker.
Well, they're gonna
Everybody's
take on the name at the end.
So they're literally just clones.
I am Alina Bonesmith.
But yeah, we got the whole story of the Black Heretic and how he created the
fold was
fold in
created.
the first place, which then was to this. I guess this was a big clearing up for me because I didn't understand why the fold was there in the first place. But this was literally just to hurt the kingdom itself because
Yes.
they were chasing after him. And now that
I
you're
don't think
split,
it's that clear. I don't think
Well,
it's that clear.
that's what
From
we're
the visual
getting.
that we saw of when it happened. I don't think that's the situation.
okay, that's fine. That's fine. The story we're getting from the fountain, which I don't know if fountains are to be trusted.
The government history says.
Yeah.
That he literally wanted to split the kingdom in two so that they would be weaker against their foes. Because
I mean, has a fountain ever steered you wrong?
it's never steered me wrong.
Never steered me right either.
Fair.
Being from a desert town, there's not a lot of fountains I have
Thank you, Steven.
Usually they're empty.
It's like no way to start a government with ladies and swords and rivers and stuff. Or however
Some watery
that goes.
tart.
Watery tart.
But yeah, we got a version of the history of what happened in Ravka. The idea is that if we can, once again, if she can get rid of the fold, because a dark summoner cannot get rid of darkness, can only create darkness. The sun summoner would get rid of the fold, and thus you reunite both sides of the kingdom, and thus make them a stronger opposition to their enemies.
I always feel so many parallels between a little bit of the story and then the story of the musical Razia Shadow.
I don't know what that is.
So,
I was gonna say Deathly Hallows. Now, how do we know that Shadow is the only one that can do like this supposedly terrible situation? What if the Sun Summoner replaces the fold with just like a big lake of lava, and it's the same problem again? It's just different.
It's lava.
I mean, as long as there's not like creatures living in the lava, like there are creatures living in
No,
the
there's
darkness.
going to be
There's gonna
like
be.
There's
lava
like-
serpents and
Yeah, they're like crazy tardigrades.
yeah.
Some extremophiles in there.
I feel like they should just start. I mean, if they have locomotives, which I also want to say, how has no one noticed that there was a train like going through this darkness? Yet everybody's like,
Hey.
who's the one that can get through the darkness, through the fold?
Yeah.
It's like maybe the guy
People-
with the train.
People believe the signs that they put up that there's landmines in the field, and
The sign wasn't
clearly
untrue.
Yeah.
But like, why are we not having planes yet? Like something to fly over. I mean, especially
well, I
if
mean,
there's
this
people
is
with,
like
Well, trains came well before planes, right?
Yeah, but you have a person that can create wind and a sail, like to sail across the
that's
fold. Why
true.
not like a way to figure out to fly? Like does the darkness go up infinitely?
That was the impression I got.
It has
'cause
air
you
rights. Yeah, I think it
Because you
does
could
have
go
air
rights.
around
Right.
the ends, but
But if it has ends, I would just makes me think that
Then it
there's
has
got to
a
be a
top.
top. Yeah. But maybe it's super high. Maybe it's thin air up there, or
Yeah.
maybe this isn't Earth, so there's just
Why
different
why
science
don't they
anyways.
just tunnel?
Yeah.
Like just go under it.
I thought we got an explanation that somebody tried that, but they couldn't.
Yeah, I think someone did say that in the first episode about tunneling.
Like
But I
it
don't
goes into the ground also, maybe.
I don't remember.
Because I feel like somebody
Yeah.
was like, "You don't think we tried that first?" Is the line that I'm hearing in my head. But I also really appreciated in this episode because when they're all having to try out for the performing troupe, and the guy turns to Kaz and he's like, "All right, your turn. Floor's yours, sir." And he's like, "I'll just find a different path." Thanks. So, like, no.
I'll be the manager.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of what I expected. He'd be like, I'm the one who keeps the coin.
Yeah, like obviously everybody needs a manager, but like I feel like he
that's what
should
the
have.
conductor was saying he was.
Yeah, he should have played along some way. Like they need to do something a little bit more with his character to give him more depth.
Well, there's
You know,
clearly
Kaz-
something we're not
Well,
privy to yet.
also with that when during the heist when he like does that slide of that piece of material under that dude's foot, like
Yeah.
I understand that's also like this is what I got into with the last episode. Everybody's super skilled or everybody has a power. Like that you can't just do something like that.
Sure, you can.
Also, it was like it was like a thing that was made like bespoke for this one task.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would state that, like, we are looking at a very specific segment of the population. Like, they're not showing us, just, we're not getting in-depth coverage of the standard First Army who's just wandering around at the edge of the fold fighting people. Like,
I mean, we saw a couple of them.
we saw a couple of them, and there was
they
nothing
died.
interesting. Yeah.
They died, yes. The comedic relief that Jessica was talking about in the beginning of this episode. Yeah. So they have a Gatling gun over on the other side. And they're not very good with
As soon
it.
as I saw them feeding like a ribbon into it, I was like, they have a machine gun?
Wait, that was period appropriate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it still works. I was just surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that it was a period appropriate, but like for a small regiment like that is of 5 people to have that instead of on the front line is not appropriate.
Well, this may be their front line because they did say that we were crossing into their territory.
True, but there
Yeah.
would have been like a whole regiment, not just 5 guys. Like that's a weapon
Yeah,
that you
it's
take
not-
to the battlefront, not to
Except
I get
scouting.
it.
Go ahead,
It's
Jessica.
not a scout weapon. It's
Yeah.
really like scouting that you don't just carry around a Gatling gun.
No,
with-
I
or a
get that.
Scout group.
But this particular population seems to operate on guerrilla warfare. So they probably only have small regiments.
Okay.
Because guerrilla warfare, you wouldn't want large regiments. And as we see with the way that they take the heart renderer and capture her, I mean, those are the same people. And the way that they attack Elena's carriage, like they clearly operate in guerrilla warfare. So while yes, I'm still surprised they have a Gatling gun, I'm not surprised that the regiment is small, and I don't think it's necessarily a scouting
no.
regiment. I think that's just their standard size.
Okay.
I
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree with this one because they might also be searching the barrier between the two forces, just specifically hoping to stumble on a greater force and then take them all out in their tents or whatever as just this group of 5 people taking out a group of like
Or this
5,200.
See-
or this is an outpost, and there's just no building.
That could be it.
This could be just their outpost since they've crossed into the territory. This is one of their checkpoints.
I feel like it should be a really good sniper over a Gatling when it comes to this kind of.
Yeah, the spray and pray was
except-
not the best. I mean, seeing as how it just got him in the shoulder.
Except
And once-
period-wise,
Well,
none of
Yeah.
your guns would have been particularly accurate in aiming.
True.
Well,
This is true.
yeah, that's true. And I feel like we had something. When was the first?
I mean, seeing as
Well,
how
maybe
Mal's
1700s.
rifle just malfunctioned right at the beginning of the fight.
Yeah, snipers really weren't prevalent until World War II. You didn't have them particularly.
No,
in
the
World War
American
I.
Revolution did have a sniper league.
Well, you did, but they weren't very.
But
effective.
But they were
not
like really
snipers.
small.
Well, plus not snipers in the way that we think of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not.
Much
They're
shorter
not
range.
nearly as
Never forget.
effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just more they had a curvature in the barrel to keep the bullet short. It was far long distance, but they could hide behind a tree and snipe,
shoot. Yeah.
quote unquote.
I want to apologize to the one military historian who listens to the podcast. I know this has been a frustrating segment for you to hear. We understand.
I'm honestly just surprised at how much tertiary army and warfare experts that we kind of have on the show. Like, I didn't know that we all had this much.
write young adult novels. I literally have 3 books on weaponry.
That's fine. I'm just saying. I was not expecting that.
I was saying I have a B.
No, I absolutely love the history of
This is
weapons,
not
so
what I'm saying.
Oh no, I'm
Anyways.
just sorry.
The one Heartrender. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I do want to say I find it really interesting lore that the creature she is connecting to is a white stag and not another really famous Russian folklore creature, the firebird. Like, I feel like her powers relate more to a firebird power over the white stag, and I'm really kind of surprised over that choice.
We'll see.
Kind of
and
like it.
I think the white stag is supposed to represent Mal. I think she's having a connection to him, not to her powers.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, because I was like, why is it?
Because even
And
though
I think,
the
and I
antlers,
think that's why you get
have
the
the
whole true
Firebird.
north concept.
Yeah.
You're my North Star, you're my true north. So if they're really playing up that interconnectedness, she's not seeing her powers, she's seeing his. Just like
do
he
hope the
can't
fire-
hear his
yeah.
powers, he can hear hers.
Yeah, I do hope the Firebird is used, because that is by far my favorite Russian lore creature. So
Hey, I just
do
had a
hope we
thought.
eventually get there.
what if Alina? What if
Yes.
Alina's power isn't that she's a sun summoner? What if she's like Rogue?
Which
And
is,
she
she's always
sucked.
the opposite of someone else's
She-
thing.
Or
That
she,
is
She
Cool.
absorbs power.
So Mal was
she
the sun
absorbed
summoner?
Mel. Mel might be the sun summoner, and she just like sucked it in during that moment. Because we had an unreliable narrator, you know, like they were both
true.
holding hands, touching. Mel
Yeah.
was in dire like need; he was about to die, and that could have happened. And maybe that's why she was having a little bit of trouble conjuring it herself, unless she got the amplification from General Kerrigan. And
But by the end of the episode, she can
Yeah,
do
she
it by
got it.
herself.
Well, no,
Yeah.
the only thing I would say for this one, John, for why I don't think this would be the case, would be that it, to a certain degree, that would be removing the awesome power of destiny from the female character and then giving it to the male
the male.
character.
Yes.
Which I don't
Yeah.
expect of this narrative.
Unless her power to absorb other people's power is more powerful. It's like makes her more important.
yeah,
But
she'd be
fair.
like the Peter
she-
Petrelli.
but
Say maybe that's one of the powers of the bonesmith.
That
And
could be
she
a power.
becomes the bonesmith.
she could be the bonesmith. But like when Kerrigan is touching her, wouldn't she have started to absorb darkness power? Like that's the only. And then she gets into a fight with the lady that can do wind powers. Like she gets punched quite a bit. So like her powers should be starting to absorb that. That's my issue with that. Unless she took up so much of the sun summoner power,
Yeah,
that's the only thing that's at the top.
And I'm curious to see where it goes. Do you guys think that the creatures that the Bonesmith made, they said that they amplify a person's powers for a time? Basically, it's like
Well,
temporary.
They mentioned that there was like some tenuous improvement, but like certain combinations yielded better results.
So on that paper, though, we saw a maximum of like 5. I think they were like 4 corner things and then the guy in the middle. So do the Bonesmith's creatures like respawn? Or what's the deal? Because people have apparently mixed this enough to like, well, I mean, I like stag, but I mean, I just like the flavor of like phoenix or whatever you said earlier, Jess. Like,
Firebird.
Good question.
so I don't. Do they come back? Did he make so many? I'm curious.
I don't think they ever go away.
Well, Well, and I kind of assume the creatures in the fold are the result of the black heretic eating one of them to amplify his powers to create the fold. And then so those creatures become the creatures in the fold.
Okay.
Distorted because you've been distorted through somebody else's vision and powers.
Okay. To anyone who read the books that's listening to us talk about this show, like, you guys are patient.
Yeah, the episode ends with Alina getting her scar taken away, and we find out how Mal got his scar because he crushed a bottle or a mug over the quartermaster's head that Alina got into a fight with in the past. That's another thing.
It's a good scene.
But I don't like the jumping back and forth in time so much.
I agree. They don't manage it very well.
No.
They have a problem with pacing. This one was edited considerably better than the previous one, to the point where I have to assume there's a different editor, because I would have enjoyed the entirety of their little train adventure thing if it had just been edited in the way that we saw as a recap of that one in this episode, where they're just like, the whole time. If that had been the only allusion to what happened while they were out there, it would have been amazing.
Oh yeah, and Jesper had to give away his goat. And I cannot
They're
imagine.
gonna eat that goat.
Yeah, I was gonna say I cannot imagine that barmaid is not going to go and kill that goat and eat it right now. Like
100%.
She was at least kind enough not to tell Jesper.
Yeah, she didn't say anything, but she's just like, I don't know why you're doing all this. He is going to be slaughtered.
Yeah, he's like, I gave you this bullet, and then, so then later on when they're like butchering it, they're like just ew, and they remove the necklace bullet thing and then continue butchering the thing.
All right. Was there anything else anybody would like to bring up?
You'll get more scenes of the enemies to lovers on the boat.
Oh, that's true.
I
Yeah,
guess,
the heart
where he
render in there.
tries to feed her bread, and he does. I did really like the line where he's like, "You're a heart render. You like destroy men's hearts," and I really wanted her to say like all men destroy men's hearts, but no, was an interesting thing to see that he clearly is questioning, I think, how he was raised. I assume that's what I'm supposed to get from it, that it was like he's raised within this really religious sect, and then he's like, maybe we're not okay, but I also still think you're a witch. Like,
it is a decent statement kind of on racism, but because like the lightest knowledge of like, oh wait, these people too, but it's also still shitty as a narrative.
Also, I think he's Grisha, and that's why he's asking all these questions, because he's like, were you born or did you choose that way? Because I'm feeling these things, and I think I'm experiencing these things, but I don't want to be a witch.
And she's just like, fuck you. I'm not answering a single one of your questions.
And we learned that she was sent on this mission by Kerrigan, which makes me think that like she was supposed to get captured.
It's a distinct possibility.
Yeah. Put it out there that you were going to be staying in this hotel room kind of thing. And
Well, or just overstaying your welcome and clearly like using your powers a little bit too much. And like, she's clearly not flying under the radar.
Yeah. She clearly is a person that does well getting captured as well. Like, she just...
Yeah, but now she's on a boat that might be going down. So...
Yeah, but I don't know, because she is the only person that he talks to. There are other Grisha on the ship. He doesn't offer
At all.
language to anybody. No, but she's the one that made the impact.
Did anyone else also have questions about why the captain guy was like, yeah, if this ship starts to go down, make sure to come down here and kill them? Like, dude, they're chained up. They're gonna die too. Why send a person to go kill them?
They're witches. You never
just
know.
for narrative.
Witches don't drown. Don't you remember from
Witches
the...
float.
That's how they're gonna trial.
Witches
That's
float.
the trial.
God damn it. They're the same weight as a duck, clearly.
Who are you so wise in the ways of science?
Okay, there you go. If there is anything that you'd like to add to our discussion of Shadow and Bone, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Mitchipedia GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. Steven, where can people find you online?
Come find my new website. I got a new URL, guys. It's the same website as before, just with another name. It's shiftcontrolz.com. That's redo in Photoshop.
Oh, I was gonna say I know what Control Z is undo. I didn't know what Shift Control Z was. It's redo. Look at you. All right, Jessica, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter as JM Bailey Writes.
And John?
You can find me on Twitter at MagicBollocks. Send me a tip. Call me Bonesmith, whatever you like.
It's like capital B Bone space capital S Smith. My name is Bone Smith.
Bone S. Smith.
Elizabeth?
You can find me with the rest of Geek Elite Media at Geek Elite Media and our Facebook page /Geek Elite Media.
The rest of Geek Elite Media is found on those things that she just said. Our website, geekelitemedia.com, is where you can get archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our website, on our network. There you go. Something around there. I say it too much. If you listen to this as a podcast, please rate and review us. It helps spread the word of our network. But until next time, the Geeks Watch... No, I don't know what's wrong with me.
This is the Geeks Watch on Geek Elite Media, saying always remember to...
Geek out.
Geek out.
Thanks for the save.
Mitch ran out of batteries.
It did.
This concludes our broadcast. Beep.